Welcome back, guys. I have finally remembered my YouTube password. Today I'm going to be discussing $100,000 SMMA secrets. So I've been in the game for a minute now, and I feel like I've figured a lot of stuff out. And actually, this video was meant to be part of an internal staff training series where it's basically all of our SOPs and secret sauce put together. So when new staff come on board, we can train them in a very easy manner. However, I got to thinking and I was like, wow, this stuff could really help people on their journey because I've consumed a lot of content that has helped me on my journey. So why not? And it is really like insider information and secret sauce that could potentially actually hurt my business. But I just got thinking, and I was actually listening to a podcast that made me think along this way, and it's by this guy called Hudson Leo Grande. And if you don't know this guy, he runs this huge e-commerce business that has grown exceptionally quickly through his tactics, like the Hudson method, whatever. And literally, it went from zero to 1 billion in revenue in the space of like 3 or 4 years. It's insane, never been done before. Like it's like 10x the closest thing, and it's like direct to consumer. Hoodies. It's insane. It's wild. And I was listening to this podcast, and he was basically talking about all of his methodologies, his secrets, the way that he does anything, and really not holding anything back. And his logic in it was he had this kind of abundance mindset where no matter how much information he gave away, it's not going to take away from his cake. It's not like he believes that if the information is out there, people are going to start eating from his plate. He had this self reassured mentality that I'm going to give away all the information and I'm still going to get better and better and figure more information out. And if anything, it's just going to help people out along their journey, and it's just going to grow the industry as a whole. And it just kind of broke the belief about this idea that it's a zero sum game where if I'm giving away information that it's going to hurt me in the long run, or that's all the information or the only secret source that we have, right? And it kind of giving away information solidifies the fact that you're going to figure more shit out, and as you figure more shit out, you're going to level up, and all those people that you help along the way, they're just going to be so much more grateful because ultimately knowledge should be passed along, right? I'm at the position where I am because I got to stand on the shoulders of giants, as Newton or whoever said it. And so I want to do the same. And I don't want to be in the scarcity mindset of keeping everything to myself and someone's going to take my information, right? So, in that essence and in that idea, I really want to expose the main media buying B2C, so really local business marketing secret that I've uncovered. And I'd say a lot of these thoughts are from the big CM, Charlie Morgan, but this has been implemented and kind of perfected in my team, and this was meant to be an internal training, so I'll probably just put this into the internal training anyways. Now, so this is the common way that people tell you to run ads. And even Meta, if you speak to any of the marketing pros at Meta, they tell you to run ads this way, right? So either do a CBO or ABO, so campaign budget optimization, or a ad set budget optimization, and just throw everything into this, right? So what does that mean? Okay, it means we have one ad set and it contains many ads, and we just give the ad set a $50 per day budget, right? And then the theory is that the Facebook algorithm is so good that you're able to basically give it all the creatives and data, and it will figure out what's best, right? However, the issue is typically two issues. One, it optimizes too quickly, too early, which in essence means that it doesn't have all of the data, and there'll be like a couple hundred impressions per video or per image, and it will optimize what's the best one and just allocate all of the spend towards that on day two, right? That's one of the issues. The second issue is that you have major entropy a couple days in, right? So typically every kind of marketing, it has degrees of levels of awareness, right? Which basically means that the more you spend, you're gonna burn through the creme de la creme of the market, which is the most aware. I forgot who it's by, but there's this like famous marketing guy, and it's like problem aware, solution aware, ready to make a change. And then as you get lower and lower in the hierarchy, you get lower and lower quality people who might not be, product aware. They might not be solution aware. They might not even be problem aware. Like they're not aware at all. And so what happens is the more and more you spend, especially in a local market, you're gonna burn through the less aware, the more aware, the more interested people, and therefore the more money you spend, the worse your ads actually get. You go down the pyramid, and you get fewer and fewer people who are actually interested, right? And so it's pretty complicated, but basically what you want to do instead of this, and instead of facing the entropy where on the first couple of days things are really good and you're getting a lot of good quality people, and that's why people have this quick win syndrome on Meta, um, and then later on it dies out pretty quickly, right? You basically want to do horizontal scaling, which means that instead of doing $50 a day for one ad set and many different ads within that one ad set, you want to do one ad set, one ad, and just do a small budget where you can still get pixel fires and conversions, right? But as you can see here, the creme de la creme of the audience, you can find a lot more of on each of these $10 per day. And the reason being that you're basically forcing Facebook on your limited budget to squeeze efficiency out of the ad. And this works exceptionally well if you know that the creative that you have is solid. And so for us, we know every single creative is a banger, right? And so all we have to do is give Facebook a limited budget and it will try and find all of those people who are gems, right? Because on a low budget, Facebook wants to give you the maximum results. And so this kind of, reduction in efficiency happens much later on. And so you want to structure your ads like this. And as you can see here, you're not going to get this kind of inefficiency creep in terms of the poor quality people. Yeah, by the way, yellow is like conversions, and then obviously red is like poor quality people, less intent, less aware, blah, 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 right? And so that means for each of them, you're going to get more of the yellows and less of the reds. And the issue is you're ultimately going to get into this territory of the reds. However, if you can creative refresh on a weekly basis or bi-weekly basis, you're always going to stay in this fresh kind of creme de la creme audience. Okay. And so that's what we do. And then the other issue is the first issue, which is that Facebook cannot just immediately find what the best one is, the best ad, especially for lead gen. They can typically do that for ecom because you're getting that quick pixel fire after someone makes a purchase event, right? You can't do it for lead gen because you actually don't know who's actually buying later on, because sometimes they might buy a week down the line, especially in a call funnel, right? Because we're calling everyone, we're trying to schedule them in. And so it's very, very important that you use conversion API to send back events such as qualified schedule or maybe purchase events, right? And the sooner you can schedule that, and obviously use a proxy because you can't always get the purchase immediately, so you might want to use a proxy for qualified schedule. It will just improve your ad quality so much more. But I'd say this is the main difference, which is to do horizontal scaling and split really that budget up, especially in the local market. If you're at national level, then okay, you can get away with $50 per day. Obviously you're playing with a bigger budget, right? But yeah, that is what we do. And if you have any questions on this, drop a comment. I'm more than happy to answer. But yeah, try to split up the budget and you will see better results and less creative fatigue because you're constantly swapping them out.